All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this month's installment of Griz Paths. If you're new to us, welcome. I'm glad you're here with us. And if you're back, welcome. Welcome back. Um, my name is Jay Beagle, and I am the Engagement and Outreach Coordinator for UMAA, and I will be moderating today's panel. Throughout this session, if you have any questions at all for our panelists, please drop them in the Q&A section above at the top, and I will get those asked for you. So October is National Cybersecurity Month, and to honor that, we are joined today by some Grizzly alums who have made a great impact in the world of cybersecurity. One of them is not, oh, he has just joined, so perfect. All three are here now, so I will let them introduce themselves. If you want to give your name, your current role, and briefly share what led you to a career in cyber.
Go ahead, Jen.
Okay, I can go ahead and start. My name is Jen Kivela. I'm a cybersecurity engineer with Dataprise. My cybersecurity journey only started about 6 years ago at the University of Montana. I went for the certificate in cybersecurity and just kept going. I was like, well, just a few more classes and I'll get the associates, and a few more classes and I'll get the bachelor's. So I just kept going. And now I work for Dataprise, and I work in a lot of Azure architecture. I work with pen tests, vulnerability assessments, and just daily architecture needs for our clients and customers.
So my name's Ben Mayo. I'm the manager of what is now known as our technical operations team at VisionNet. Previously to that, I was the manager of IT and security. I still manage the IT and security teams, but we've also added our data center as well as what's called our system teams underneath me. In my manager role, I don't get hands-on nearly what I used to, but I came up through the administrator and engineer ranks. And what led me to cybersecurity was watching the movie Hackers in 1995. And it all started from there.
All right, my name's Andy Morse. Ben, I have to ask, are you a rollerblader or a skateboarder in Hackers?
I was definitely a rollerblader.
Oh,
yes.
Okay, good. Me too. So if you see a big, tall, doofy guy rolling around Missoula on a rollerblade, it's probably me. So my name's Andy Morse. I work over at Pathlabs in the I'm a manager of IT and security. I about 40% IT, 60% security. I pretty much kind of take on the security role for our company. We're at about 130, 140 users, and then we're recently acquired by MIQ, so I also help our owners with different security policies and things like that too.
Great. Well, thank you three so much for the quick introduction. And once again, anyone in the crowd, if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A. But
well, I have to ask now. I asked Ben. Jen, are you a rollerblader or a skater from Hackers?
No, but I wish I was. That sounds really fun.
Sorry, I had to interrupt, Jay.
Oh, no, that is all right, Andy. Yeah, I'll just start diving into this right now if you guys are ready to go. So what role did your education at U of M play in preparing you for a career in cybersecurity? Whoever wants to take it away, take it away.
Well, I'll get started just because I probably had the shortest tenure at the University of Montana. I believe both of my colleagues here actually have degrees from U of M. I started at U of M, but did not finish. But I learned a lot while I was there, and one of the primary things I learned is what I didn't want to do. I'd started in computer science and realized I'm not a programmer, and I really wanted to just focus on security and networking, and that's one of the focuses. And the other probably the biggest thing actually is the network. Meeting fellow students, professors, and alumni, and building out my network via the University of Montana was crucial to where I'm at today.
And for me, I guess I just started, 6 years ago when I did go back to the university. So some of you might have Wally Higgins or Vic Valgenti, so they were instrumental in helping me get started, because at first it was a little bit overwhelming. Because I came from an accounting background, and then I was with Blackfoot Communications for 20 years, and then I was switched over from accounting into the networking department, and that's when I started with the cybersecurity. But the education at the Missoula colleges where I started, and that was really nice. And the instructors were great, and that really helped me keep going and gave me a little bit of some mentorship, and that was really great.
I have to +1 to the networking. It's probably the most important thing. And I mean, we're all here, so I think we're here for a good reason, because we're at least known a little bit over there at the campus. And I think the other thing that I would say that I learned a lot is when I went into college, Ben knew me growing up, and I was probably, I think you could call me a big dork. So big is a big. So I think I was very focused on the technology and maybe less so on the people side. And I think the biggest thing that the professors over the business school taught me was it's actually the opposite. I would say even security, even more so, is more on the people side than the technology. Anyone can learn technology. I mean, if I know it, anyone can know it. That's kind of my stance on that. And I think, but people, learning how to talk to people, deal with people, understand their pains, points, why they do things the way they do, even though they maybe shouldn't do those things. I think that's a very important skill, and that's not something that you just learn instantly with a couple of YouTube videos.
Great. That was some great answers. So how did you, kind of already touched on it, some of you, but how did you land your first job or internship? And were there any unexpected turns?
I have a great story if I could start.
Go for
so
it.
I was an employee over on campus, and my boss walked up to me and he said, "Andy, I need you to do a Q&A for the vice president of student affairs. It's with her board. So you'll go up there, they'll ask you a few questions and you'll be done." I was like, I can do that. So I walk over there and, with my great intel from my boss, Q&A, no prep needed. Love that, because I was a procrastinator, still a little bit am. Walk over there, and everyone, I noticed there's a couple of kids that I knew, a couple other students, and they all had note cards. Every single one of them. I was like, "Hey," and one gal was named Kelly. I was like, "Hey, Kelly, what's happening?" She's like, "Oh, you're here too. That's great. I'm really nervous about my presentation. I finished it last night." I was like, "Oh, tell me about your presentation that I totally am prepared for." And so I go in the room, and then one guy was in front of me. And then I go up there, and I had no idea what I was going to say. I only listened to one speech. So I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to ad-lib it best I can. And I knew one of the guys on the board, his name was Charlie. He kind of peeked over at his buddy and goes, "Ask him how tall he is and if he plays basketball," because that's what everyone loves to ask tall people. And so I turn around at Charlie and I go, "Charlie, I don't play basketball, but I make a fantastic cheesecake." And that just set off a good solid 4-minute ramble. I don't even know what I said. But afterwards, the presentation, a guy walked over to me and said, "Hey, do you have any plans after college?" I said, "No, I don't." And he offered me a job. So that's kind of how I got started. And I will say, I think another skill that was well learned from Professor Firth is sometimes you got to think on the fly, and knowing your elevator speech pretty much saved me, because that was my elevator speech and I still use it today.
That's awesome. For me, I can go next. So I have my education. I got some certifications. So I got my CCNA and the CyberOps Associates, and I got the certificate from the University of Montana. So when I did go and a little bit of on the job, but not as much as I would have liked to go into my first cybersecurity job. So I think having a combination of those things and just working really hard the past few years to kind of get up to speed, especially because I feel like 6 years is very new to the cybersecurity industry. So I just feel like working hard and putting the effort into education or certs or whatever you can, to just make yourself a little bit more involved with what's going on in current affairs.
Well, there's going to be a common theme to a lot of my questions, and the theme there is going to be networking. And I'm not talking like routers and switches and stuff. It's the people and networking. None of my jobs that I've had over the last 20 years were ones that were posted on a job board. They were positions that somebody knew me and came to me and said, "We have this position that we need to fill. We're looking for someone like you. Would you be interested?" And so the saying goes, your network is your net worth. And that's true. building your network here while you're in school is very important. And then when you get done with school, building your network's important. And some of you might be a little scared because this industry tends to attract more introverted people. And when people hear networking, they think, well, I got to be extroverted. That's not the case. There's plenty of ways for introverted people to network. So I would say just make sure you keep networking any chance you get and just explain to people who you are, what you do, but do it from a genuine point where you're trying to learn about that other person as much as you're trying to teach them about you. Don't make it transactional. So work on your networking, LinkedIn, in-person, conferences, meetups, all of that will help you build that. And you never know when your next job is going to come from one of those people in your network.
Great. That was some wonderful insight. And that kind of leads into the next question a little bit is, can you talk about a mentor or a networking opportunity that made a significant difference in your career?
Yeah, for me, so Andy mentioned that I knew him growing up. Andy and I graduated a year apart from Colstrip High School. Go Colts.
Go Colts.
So we had some similar positions. I think a lot of the jobs that I had, when I left in school, Andy came up and took those same ones, like at the power plant and stuff. So fortunately, Andy and I have been doing this sort of work since high school. And so with that, I had a mentor and a guy that ran our IT department at Colstrip schools. And when I went and got a couple certifications like my CCNA and Network Plus, he's the one that came up to me and said, hey, I want you to come work for me. So that was my kickoff was there. So that mentor, Steve, was a big part in my career progression.
For me, it was my former boss, Rachel. She's the one that kind of led me into the cybersecurity certificate, which once I started the classes and getting more into it, I really enjoyed it. And she kind of helped me. We set up a 1-year plan, a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, and built into that plan was education, but also cert goals and also personal goals. So it was kind of nice. I didn't meet all of the goals, but it was nice to kind of have a roadmap. And even when I did apply for my new position, I did go to her for a reference. And it's just nice to have somebody like in your corner rooting you on and like helping you reach those milestones.
Man, I was trying to think if I had any like big mentors. I think my answer is going to be I had a lot of micro mentors. I think I know a lot of people that have small influences that have kind of encompassed my probably entire IT career. I think how I deal with customers and talk to people that I help with in my day-to-day job, probably one of my bosses. How to like run a budget, run a department, again, probably another one of my bosses. Maybe Ben a little bit, but we're not going to tell him because that might be kind of might make him a little bit proud, maybe a little bit, maybe his ego will get a little bit bigger. But like I think there's just lots of those in my life, especially people that I maybe took on their role or moved up from. Even professors, teachers in high school, things like that. There's lots of influences. And I think what I try to do is I try to take the best of what I learn from people and try to incorporate that not only in my own kind of morals, but also like my roadmaps and what I believe in from a career perspective.
All right. So I'm going to start asking some more questions, more a little bit cybersecurity related. And I'm going to kick that off with a question from the crowd. So it says, what impact has the zero trust mandate from the U.S. executive branch had on your current work?
I'll let you guys go first.
All right. So I'm a huge zero trust fan, and I encourage everyone to go read up, especially the NIST publications on zero trust, which are more general, and then look into vendor solutions for things like microsegmentation and all the other tranches of zero trust. As far as the mandate, though I work in a regulated telecom industry, it's not something that we have to do, but fortunately it's something that we implemented a while back in terms of zero trust. Now, zero trust isn't a technology, right? It's more or less an idea. And so to answer the question, the mandate itself hasn't, but I think it's great that the feds are pushing it. And Zero Trust was the big buzzword 10 years ago, and people were all on it. And then all of a sudden, Gen AI came along and people kind of forgot about it. But highly encourage everyone to read the open publications on Zero Trust. And there's some certifications for them as well. And learn as much as you can about it, because even though it might not be the big hype that it was, it still is going to be table stakes for working in and or running a cybersecurity program.
Yeah, and for me, I'm in the cyber engineering department, and so we set up a lot of rules that will monitor our clients' environments. So for me, it's just making sure that we have the proper rules in place, and then that we're alerting on them. And if we do alert on them, we have a SOC department. So they're the ones that are going in and responding to those alerts. So for me, it's just making sure that everything is set up properly. And if clients have specific needs or meeting certain regulations, like Ben touched on, different clients of ours, because we're an MSSP. So different clients will have different regulations, making sure that we're meeting each of those compliances for those clients.
I think if you aren't doing Zero Trust, you're going to be like Jaguar in Great Britain. And if you haven't read about that breach, I really recommend it. One thing Ben mentioned was microsegmentation, and it's almost nothing most Montana businesses do. You just have a network and everything has access to everything. And it's awesome. You know why? Because if I need to get access to some data on another part of the network, I can just do it. It's amazing. The problem is when you get ransomware, guess what else also can get access to every bit of your network? And when you have a CNC, which weirdly runs Windows, guess what happens to that CNC? It no longer works. And when you're a manufacturing company like Jaguar is, who I think they got breached in August 25th, if I'm right, they're still not operational. And they actually might cause a massive bankruptcy in the English economy because of how many small businesses depend on Jaguar for the supply chain. So you're not only protecting your network, you're also protecting everyone else's. And in this day of age, when we talk about, personal networking is also tied to everything. Everything is tied to everything. And so having good documentation, understanding what needs access to everything is just one little small piece of the Zero Trust model. But I think if you're going to trust anything in your organization, you're just going to leave a big old hole for ransomware. And it's hopping even more so now. And it's even getting more brutal as time goes on.
So going along with some other current things that are happening, so how has the rise of AI and machine learning impacted cybersecurity careers, and has it affected you directly?
I got a great AI hacking story if you guys want to hear it.
Let's hear it, Andy.
So I'm sure Jen and Ben probably have heard stories similar to this before, but I had a friend and he called me in full panic mode and he was like, I just got phished. And so helped him lock his stuff down. We got everything kind of taken care of. But what was interesting is what happened, how he got phished. So he was actually in contract negotiation with another company. He was pitching a sale to them, and it was about a $50,000 sale, and they're a very small business, so $50,000 was a big deal to them. And then all of a sudden, they were in the middle of negotiations, and he said it was a really hard negotiation. And all of a sudden, the vendor's like, we accept your terms. Please click on this link to sign the contract. And of course, my friend is just freaking pumped. Like I think he said he even jumped maybe around his desk and did a little dance before he went over there, clicked the link, punched in his Microsoft credentials, it asked for his 2FA, punched in his 2FA, and then it came up with a blank screen and he got really sad. Mm-hmm. And so then what did he do? He clicked on the link again, re-entered his credentials and re-entered his thing. And what was happening in the background is this guy that they were negotiating with actually got hacked. And what we suspect is the hackers downloaded his inbox and ran it through one of the LLM models that are built for these scamming organizations. I'm not even calling them hackers because this is a pure scam. But and what these, like, there was one called WormGPT. It's not there and around anymore, but it helps people build bigger phishing profiles. And it identified my friend as a target and said, hey, here's what you should email them. Click a button to click it. And you can just click it and it just goes through this guy's email that they already hacked and then sends it right to my friend. And then he totally thought it was real. It was from his real email account. The only thing you could have caught is the link was a weird URL, but he was just so excited that he won a contract, he didn't even notice.
Yeah, and I can relate to that because we're seeing for AI, the phishing attempts have gotten a lot more sophisticated and they're catching a lot more people. And so for us, we've put a lot more like auto containment controls in place. So it's just, if anybody clicks on anything that we're not sure about, we're just like auto contain them. We're going to investigate it, not the other way around. I think we used to investigate it first. And then, maybe if we found that it was malicious, then then contain that device. But now we're going the other way and saying, we're just these phishing attempts have gotten so sophisticated and they're targeting, we try to monitor, like if we know, like the accounting department, for example. So they might target somebody in accounting, for example. So we might do a little bit more around those individuals as well. Checking, making sure that they're not clicking on anything or checking, what kind of emails they're getting, if they're getting any malicious links, things like that. But on the flip side, we are looking into incorporating, more AI to our advantage too, to help counteract that. And that we're looking at some vendors right now that can help with, triaging or investigations or correlating events or more threat intelligence feeds. So that's exciting too, because we can also use it to our advantage. But the hard part though is just keeping all the data safe. So that's a key component too, is keeping all your data safe that you're putting into AI or making sure that your AI platforms are secure.
Yeah, and I'll just touch on the career aspect because Jen and Andy did a great job covering just what AI and machine learning are in terms of both the defensive side and the offensive side. On the career side, what I tell people is, AI might not necessarily take your job, but someone that knows how to utilize AI will take your job. So just learning how to utilize it within your career is going to be crucial. I mean, it's a force multiplier for you. So tons and tons of courses out there. Take advantage of those and just learn the best that you can of utilizing AI in your day-to-day, while also keeping in mind, you're keeping your data secure, not entering proprietary data into LLMs that you don't control and things like that.
The other thing I mentioned too is fully understanding AI, what it's capable of, and I would actually honestly say what's even more important is what it's not capable of. It is not a golden bullet that's going to solve all your problems. Some of the things I've had to talk people down on what they think they could do with AI that there is no way you can do with AI is a very hard conversation to have, and it is not going to solve all the problems. So you need to understand what it can and can't do, and then also on top of it, make sure you have your own personal workflows so you're familiar with it. And I definitely, if you enjoy the having a home lab, which I think if you're in cybersecurity, I would really recommend that you do, download a local model so you can kind of play with things that you maybe shouldn't use with an online model, so you have a full understanding of what they're capable of.
Well, we have two more questions actually in from the audience, and the first one I think you guys just kind of touched on, but as someone preparing to enter the cybersecurity field, how do you think AI will change the skills employers are looking for over the next few years?
I'm gonna jump on that one real quick.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So the reason I'm jumping on is I see Nikolai here. I spoke to Nikolai at the career fair last week, so I hope you're doing well there, Nikolai. And thanks for the question. Yeah, we touched on it. It depends. Let me put it that way. There's a lot of employers that are really hyped up on AI to the point where, like Andy's talking about, they think they can do stuff that's actually not possible. So figuring out, to Andy's point, what is and isn't possible is going to be very crucial for you as you navigate, especially early on in your career. Again, I'll just reiterate, just learning what's there and for what you want to do. Actually go out and use Google. Say, hey, I want to be a SOC analyst. Google Gen AI as it relates to being a SOC analyst, or go ask Gen AI, go ask Perplexity or Grok or whichever. Ask all of them and say, how does AI enable a SOC analyst? How does AI enable us as a security engineer? And see what it has to say, and then try to find courses and learning to help you tie that in.
One thing I'd be curious, maybe you, Jen, and maybe Ben, you do more hiring than I do, but one thing we're noticing over at Pathlabs is every opening we have, we get about 300 to 500 applications. And you read the applications and they're almost all identical. I wonder why. So yeah, I'll let you guys all think about that. So one thing that we've been kind of talking about internally is just, as we're kind of wrapping up our meetings and stuff like that, is what do you do if the job application process has become a commodity? And I think it almost has been. If you can click a button to apply for a job and it instantly generates a resume and stuff like that, that means you will be just like everybody else. And the only thing I can really come up with is like kind of things that we've talked about already is networking. I don't know if you are going to be able to easily get a job by just pressing a button. If you think, oh, that's awesome. I applied for 1,700 jobs today. The problem is everyone else around you also applied for 1,700 jobs today. And so I think using AI for things that can become a commodity, if you're going to commoditize something with AI, you want to be really careful if you think that's going to be a benefit to you. You want to make AI prove or show more value in you, not make the same value as everybody else.
And a little insight for me, we have an entire SOC team, and it's really hard to, it's 24/7. So it's hard to get those late night shifts covered. So I know one thing we might be looking at in the future is like a tier 1 analyst might be covered by AI, especially during those like the late night hours or the overnight hours, or when things are a little bit slower. So if you want to get in at like entry level, AI might be taking some of those positions, especially like I said, the hours. And then I know the amount of applicants comes down to a lot of time to interview. So that's when your skills as a people person, which sometimes is difficult for some people, like me for sometimes. So I know that like sometimes that will play a factor too in differentiating you when they have so many applicants coming in. So something to think about or be aware of. But also on the tier 2 level, we do want AI to help us like get better, so we can level up a little bit. We can use AI as a tool, not to do your job, but maybe you're stuck on something or want to know how to investigate something further. You could use it as a tool to say, like, here's where I'm getting stuck. Like, what could my next step be? And it could assist in that way.
Great. Well, along those lines of early career stuff, the other question from Andrew here is, what certificates are cybersecurity employers looking for, and are there any expectations to have them before obtaining an internship?
It's not a certification, but my absolute favorite class that if you're in cybersecurity, I think you should do is Hack the Box. It's changed a lot since I've done it, but I think I don't even know if they give you a fake certificate. I think it's just a bunch of learning stuff. But if you can tell people that you've ran the Hack a Box course, it does actually mean a lot, and a lot of security professionals know what that is. When I went through it, I mean, this is maybe a little old guy story, but when I went through it, it was just a login page, and then when you typed in I need a login, it said, well, then you shouldn't be here. And you had to go find some hacker forms. They weren't really hacker forms, but then to find how to get a login. So it really makes you think. It makes you think a little bit way differently than anything else and I think even though that's changed significantly, I think it's still one that I would recommend to everyone.
And I agree with that. And I think as far as certifications go, it's always going to change. What I needed 4 years ago for a cert is completely different than what I need now for a cert. So if you can get like the generalized ones where you can prove like you have the basic knowledge or that you're able to get there, then I think the more like I'm looking more into some Azure certifications, but that's more for my specific role right now. So I think getting the basics done first, and then as you get further into your career, you can start doing some more specific ones.
Yeah, Jen's 100% correct. I see a lot of people that try to jump straight into security without actually having a good solid base in something like networking or programming or system administration. I really recommend that you get a strong base in something like that based off of where you want your career to go to. I've had people in interviews for cybersecurity positions that can't tell me what RFC 1918 space is, and they're trying to ping it out on the internet. Now, if you don't know what that is, that's just fine. Write down RFC 1918 and then go read what that is and see why I would expect somebody as a security engineer or a SOC analyst know what that is. So actually not skipping steps. And people hate hearing this, but you really got to build that strong foundation in order to build on the security stuff on top of it. Knowing how systems work and how they're supposed to operate, knowing what good looks like, allows you to know what bad looks like. So whether you're going to be on the offensive or defensive side, knowing how those systems work, if you're on the offensive side, it's going to let you know how to exploit them ethically, hack into them, and do whatever you need to do with them. If you're on the defensive side, you know what good looks like, and you know when something isn't good. So certification wise, there's lots of good ones out there. You know, I would start, if it was me, with some of the CompTIA certs like Network Plus or Security Plus. I'm not saying you even have to get the certs for all these things, but at least going through the learning. The Cisco CCNA, even though it's vendor specific, will teach you a ton in terms of networking. And it helps you figure out what you actually really like, because you might think, hey, I want to be a pen tester. And you might go do the Pen Test Plus or another pen test cert, the CEH. Then you might realize, I don't want to be a pen tester. Or it might be the other way. You might do some Microsoft certs thinking you want to admin Windows or M365 and realize that's not what you want to do. When it comes to your career, one of the main things I would say is develop the skill of rapid skill acquisition. Being able to learn things quickly, but not only learn them, apply them. So knowledge that's gained but not applied is a waste. So actually being able to gain knowledge quickly and then apply it. Having that skill set will make it so that you are always hireable. Cybersecurity might someday be totally gone and all handled by AI, but if you can pivot and able to rapidly acquire skills, that's going to make it so you'll always have a job.
Yeah, a couple of extra things. Plus one to the learn to learn. It's the most it's funny when people are always like, what's your hidden talent? I was in high school and even in college, is like, I don't know what my hidden talent is. It's I can learn really fast. That's what it is. Like I can take a technology, learn it really quick. May not be an expert right away, but I'll have a pretty good understanding of it. Understand networking. I think that's another thing me and Ben would, and I don't know you as well, Jen, so I'm going to assume you agree with this one, but I think we would all both agree that like if you can't understand how to run a network and what TCP, UDP, I mean just basic network things, some basic VPN protocols, it's going to be really hard when you're having conversations to a potential customer down the road or even an employee when they start throwing these 3-letter acronyms at you and you're like, I totally don't know what you're saying. So again, I think having a home lab, going through it, there is so much good gear out there that is cheap or free that you can learn for very, very reasonable amounts of pricing. And the other thing, get a GitHub page, add code to it. You don't have to be a coder. You don't have to be an expert. But again, when you're looking at like, how do I not be a commodity in the job application market? That's a good way to do it, because that'll be unique. You can even use AI to write your code. That's totally fine. That doesn't mean you're going to be a commodity. It's the idea of what the code does that is going to make you unique and stand out.
Mm-hmm. And Cisco has some labs. Some are free that you can get in on too. So that helps out a lot. And then following some, when I was more into networking, I followed like Keith Barker or Network Chuck, people like that just kind of help you kind of keep current, or, kind of go over concepts that maybe you're not getting, but if you hear somebody else rephrase it in a certain way, then it starts clicking. So that's always good too.
You all are in a spoiled information age, coming up again. When I was in high school, it was, if you wanted to learn Cisco, you pretty much had to get Cisco gear, or there was some very poor simulators, not even emulators. And then the emulators came along that you could sit there and emulate gear on. And so you didn't actually have to buy it. And now, I remember in high school, I think Microsoft certs were $400 or $500, and that was on top of the training. Now you can go to Microsoft and I think students, for a lot of them, can get them for free or half cost. And most of them are $100, and that includes all the training and the certification. So take advantage of those low or no priced options as much as you can. I know in college, money can be very tight. So map out what you want to do. And then I want to touch on something Jen mentioned earlier, was she wrote down what she wanted to do for her career path. Be flexible, but write that down. You're the CEO of your career. What that means is CEOs need to know marketing. Well, CEOs need to know how to budget. CEOs need to know sales. That's all the same stuff you need to know in your career. How do I market myself? How do I sell myself to an employer, to a customer? How do I handle my budget for training? How do I handle my budget for my household? So write down, get an idea of where you want to go, and figure out what it's going to take to get there. Understanding that stuff changes a lot, your interests may change, and that's okay. You know, a long time ago, I was fully focused on just networking, being a network guy, and then I got the pull back for security, and came back to security. It's totally okay to change horses mid-race in this game, and sometimes that'll be up to you. Other times it might not be up to you. Going back to the rapid skill acquisition, so just keep learning, and you're going to do just fine.
Well, that was some great insight, you three. So thank you very much. If you can see in the chat, we had another question from the crowd come in, and it says, "I'm a high school counselor. Can you please give me some examples of what an entry-level cybersecurity professional workday looks like? In other words, how can I sell this to high school level students?"
And to start, I know that there's dual credit, so some of the high school students can take a university cyber class. I can't remember which one it is, but they could start there if they wanted to. I tried to get my son to look into it, but he didn't take it. But it is possible if they want to start, if they want to look at that dual credit, which would be a good place for them to start. But for us, we do have several departments. If you're at a smaller company, everybody wears many hats. But where I'm at now, we do have different departments that handle different things. So like a SOC 1 analyst, for example, they would be responding to the maybe medium and low alerts that are coming in. So they would investigate that. A lot of times they work with a tier 2 analyst or a tier 3 analyst throughout the day, and they kind of help them and mentor them, like, here's how you investigate this. This is what we're looking for. And that gives them a lot of on-the-job training and knowledge that they can take with them. And sometimes it can be a little bit stressful for like a SOC analyst, because they do have to respond quickly to those alerts when they come in, or like I said earlier, they have night shifts, which isn't always ideal for a lot of people. But then we also have others that work in like the compliancy section, or advisory. So for example, I'll run a pen test, but I don't deliver that to the client. So we have someone that might put the results together in a PowerPoint and kind of either walk through it with the client, depending on the outcome, or give it to another senior security advisor. So and one role is an incident response role. I'm not too sure what their day-to-day looks like, but there are a lot of different areas that they could go into. For me, I like the engineering because I don't feel that pressure that I have to respond to an alert or an incident. I don't have that kind of anxiety, whereas I think in some areas of cybersecurity, if you're responding to events, that can be a little bit stressful at times. So it kind of depends on, where their comfort level is as well.
Yeah, typical day. Go ahead, Andy.
Oh, you go ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, shout out to the school counselors. My wife's a school counselor, so I appreciate the work you're doing. Before I touch on a typical day in someone starting their cybersecurity career, one thing I would mention for the school counselor, especially at the high school level, is students that are showing an interest. If you have like a BPA, Business Professionals of America, or a DECA type organization, a lot of those have things like cybersecurity, networking, programming, website design in those programs. I know Andy and I went through them in high school and had a great time. Got to go to a lot of cool conferences and travel to a couple different places around the country. So that's where they can catch that bug and get an idea of if they really like doing this sort of work. You know, it's hard to say in terms of a typical day. I would say they would, especially just starting, if you're fresh out of college, this is your first job, it's going to feel like a fire hose for you. But understand it will slow down. And that's with any job, whether it's security or anything. You know, it's that first day, especially your first corporate job, it's going to be a fire hose. So just understand that it's going to get better. You're going to learn quickly. And hopefully you have someone there that can help guide you, whether it's your manager or maybe a senior on your team that can help guide you. And just being personable and amicable and open to feedback is going to be crucial for you when you're starting out your career. So come in with the mindset that you're there to learn, that you don't know everything, don't have an attitude, don't be arrogant, be there to be helpful and also to be helped.
I have no idea what the first day of a brand new SOC 1 or anything engineer would be. So I can't even fathom what that would be like because my career has been so weird and wonky and mostly focused in IT for the longest time. But I think if I had to guess, you will be doing a lot of the tasks that maybe aren't as much fun as most starting jobs are. But with that said, you're going to be focused in areas of that are probably like maybe that hopefully would be interesting to you. So probably a lot of, going through helping people with, setting up password policies, understanding why Windows updates, what Windows updates are important, what Windows updates aren't important, and making sure updates are going through, checking logs of different EDR, antivirus software, things like that. And it's a little bit brutal at first, but as you get more experience, then you can start getting into the other things that are out there, like pen testing and things like that. The one thing I would definitely make sure you set a real expectation is, and I've heard this a million times, is like, I just want to do pen testing. I don't want to do any of that other stuff. It's not happening. Like, you would have to have the most perfect scenario for someone to let you in that role, because pen testers are very in demand. And they're very expensive, and you can't do them more than once. Otherwise, it's a big mess. So they have to make sure that people who are doing it have a pretty good idea of what's going on. And as much as you may think you probably don't have those skills straight out of even college.
So another question in the chat right now, and I think you guys all just kind of touched on it a little bit, but from a technical or a teamwork perspective, what's a skill you wish more new hires had when they first started in your department?
I truly believe that you can learn any technical skill you need to. However, I still wish that you had more technical skills when you started. And I say that because I think like there's ebbs and flows in generations and how things go. And I think sometimes, like, especially some of the people I know that we hire, sometimes their technical skills aren't as high as maybe they interviewed as, and it has caused problems for us. So I do think that even though it's more important to have those personal skills, it's more important to have skills where you can talk to humans and, not be completely awkward. I think having a strong technical background where the foundational technologies of whatever area in cybersecurity or IT you're going to go into is really important. And being able to show those and then go through those day to day so someone doesn't have to handhold you. Because it seems like the other thing that I'm seeing a lot in businesses is everyone's understaffed by like 1 or 2 employees. So because they're understaffed by 1 or 2 employees, that means that there's not a lot of help that can be sent to you through your boss. So it's going to be a lot of self-paced, you kind of doing your own thing, having to kind of figure things out yourself. And so having that strong technical foundation helps a lot with that.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that. Just, being able to troubleshoot or find answers, if you do have a mentor, but sometimes it's nice to have them in your back pocket, but you also need to have ownership and accountability for your role, and make sure that you're going out there and trying to find the answer first, and then maybe bringing a solution to your manager or a tier 2 or your mentor and saying, here's the problem, here's what I found, what do you think? Am I on the right track or something like that, where you can get a little bit more troubleshooting is a great skill to have.
So I hire for 2 things on my teams. It's attitude and aptitude. Going to what Andy said, and you can teach anyone technical as long as you've got the aptitude to learn it and being able to demonstrate that. So completing your coursework, showing that you've got a degree from U of M, maybe you've got some certification, you're demonstrating your aptitude. Attitude wise, I'm very particular about the people I let join my team. I've worked with toxic people and I've seen the devastating effect that toxic people can have on a team and an organization. So I'm very careful about screening for people that have the right attitude for my team. And how you can get the sort of the right attitude is look into things, read up on EQ, emotional intelligence. It's great to have IQ and be super smart and super technical. The tech stuff a lot of time will get you hired, but it's the emotional intelligence that's going to get you promoted and take you further along in your career. So read books on emotional intelligence, relating to people, back to the networking aspect that I've been touching on, and just, don't be arrogant and don't be a jerk and don't come in thinking you know everything. Yeah, you got a degree, you might have a couple of certs, but the guy interviewing you probably has 15 years of experience and all those certs and more. So being humble and, again, wanting to be helpful and also wanting to be helped is crucial when starting out. And, well, not just starting out, just as you go along your career, it's always going to be good to have that sort of attitude and perspective.
+1 to all that.
Thanks, Andy.
Got your back.
Well, that was great. We are getting pretty close to the hour here, so if there's no more questions from the audience, I'm going to have 2 more quick ones for you guys. And the first one is, how can students and young alumni build a genuine connection with professionals in the industry?
So LinkedIn is great, and it's great to connect with people, fellow alumni, fellow students, people that you take an interest in. What I would say is look into the person you're looking to connect with at least a little bit. Like, where are they from? Where are they based out of? Maybe some of their interests, and utilizing that knowledge when you send that LinkedIn invitation. Say, hey, I see that you are also a U of M alum. I'm an alum and I'd love to connect. Hey, I see you're in Seattle. Are you a Seahawks fan? Anything like that. Don't be so transactional. Like, have a genuine interest. Yeah, I mean, you're connecting to help yourself and help your career, but you also might be helping this person. Maybe you have a position for this person at some point. So just being genuine in your interactions is something that I strive to do, and not just send blanket invitations on LinkedIn. And the same thing in person. Like, take an interest, listen to actually hear what someone's saying. Don't listen to respond when you're sitting there talking with somebody. Take a genuine interest, active listening. Those are some of the things I would do as anything in terms of networking and starting out your career.
And in the spring, I know that at the Missoula College, hosted by the U of M or Missoula College, both, but there is a cybersecurity event where businesses from all over Montana will be there, and then you can interact with them there as well. And that's a really good opportunity.
Well, you guys had way better responses than probably I have. But I think the other thing I'm going to say is, if you're going to reach out to someone on LinkedIn, and this includes if any of you guys go into sales, if you use AI, I will know. And I will immediately take your email and I will throw it away, and I will literally never think about you again. So AI is great, and don't get me wrong, I do use it for responses. But if you I think that Ben uses, genuinely want someone's help, you can use it to maybe edit your wording, maybe like go over, oh, that's not a good word, like I need some help with that. Use it to help, but you need to build the foundation of whatever kind of communications you're doing, because AI is very easy to spot out. And it is, and I probably get 15 messages every other day from salespeople, and they are all AI generated, and I don't read a single one of them because it's so easy to tell. You just, from the subject line, you're like, yep, that's AI. I mean, I literally had one guy, he said, hey, I saw you on LinkedIn, and this person said that you were great at help desk. I was wondering if you could help me with something. I was like, well, yeah, that guy I hadn't talked to in 20 years. Like, yeah, that was something he just pulled off he just literally copy paste that, threw it in LLM, and then it regurgitated his email. So be very careful when using AI when you're trying to get help and make relationships with other professionals in the field.
And I believe Montana High Tech Business Alliance will host events every once in a while too, so you could follow them and look for an event in your area. They're all over Montana, so they have different events in different areas. And I don't know if you guys have done, sometimes I'll get in on the LMG has the fireside chats. So you could, attend those too and see who else is in some of these more local events, and then start networking that way as well.
And I got a shameless plug here. I run a group called Montana InfoSec on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. Well, we are on Twitter, but LinkedIn. So go to LinkedIn and Google search Montana InfoSec and connect. And then I'm open to connecting with everybody on here. You don't have to go look up who my favorite NFL team or something is. You can just say, hey, I watched your presentation on the alumni panel. I'd like to connect. That's plenty for me.
Well, great. Thanks to the three of you for that. Last question before we wrap up here. Just a quick one. If you could go back and give your U of M student self one piece of advice, what would that be? The hard-hitting question.
Yeah, I guess for me, I would say, I think when the first time I attended, I was too rigid. I was like, I'm going for accounting. I'm going to be done in 4 years. And now going back later and having completely different career halfway through, it's nice to feel like it's more of a journey, not necessarily like I have to get this done. And I feel like now it's a little bit more relaxed, and I'm doing it to like take it in and learn, and it's not as rigid. So that's the advice I would give myself earlier, is just be a little bit more flexible. Things are going to change. You're not going to be an accountant for your whole life, just things are always going to change. So like your education is just part of the journey.
For myself, my first piece of advice would be don't go to stocks after midnight. And then the second piece of advice would be for me specifically, is what I love about the MIS and the cybersecurity program is it's in the School of Business. And what I see a lot of people doing is they're doing security for security's sake. They're just like, I like security, I like doing it. But knowing how security enables the business is critical. So taking an accounting class, a corporate finance class, stuff like that, accounting is the language of business. So if you can speak accounting, helps you justify budgets, helps you justify raises, helps you do business cases where you might think we need to purchase something, and then turns out actually it's something you don't need to purchase. So I ask myself two questions in my department before expending any resources. It's first, what is the problem that we're trying to solve? And then second, does this enable the business? If there's not an actual problem that we're trying to solve, then it's not worth purchasing or dedicating resources to that. And if it does enable the business, it's not worth doing. And it could be the business, the organization, whatever. So take an accounting class or a finance class and pay attention, because it's going to help.
All right, I have to piggyback on that. This is where apparently I just listen to you two smart people, and then I can come up with great ideas. I think being in the business school, even though you may never start your own business, you should know everything there is to know about how to run and start your own business. So maybe even go as simple as bookkeeping, and then do some entrepreneurial, do like foundational work, business ops, understanding how those things work, because no matter where you are in the industry, you're going to be probably working for a business. Even a nonprofit, you're still a business, you just have a different motive. So understanding those things are probably something that I failed at pretty again. I think I focused way too much on the technical aspect, and I forgot about, again, to Ben's point, when you're like, oh, there's this really cool new firewall, we should get it. What is that going to bring us to the business? Well, it's just really cool and shiny. Okay, well, that's not actually how you run a business. And I think those are really good things to know early, and that'll help you kind of bring out the best of your career later on. And then maybe you also have an opportunity to actually start your own business, and then maybe you'll be on the other side of like hiring people from UM, which would be pretty cool.
Well, great. Well, if you guys have any last words, speak them now. But if not, that is the last of the questions that I have. So I just want to thank everyone for being here today in the audience. You guys were a very interactive crowd, so we love that. Thank you so much. And a huge thanks to Jen, Andy, and Ben for taking some time out of their day to be here with us. So thank you all for being here, and go Griz.